Let's dive right into this explainer, because we are about to completely shift your paradigm about what it actually means to go on a trip. If you think the modern vacation is just some spontaneous, free-spirited adventure, well, you might want to look a little closer at the mechanics behind it. Today, we're going to see how travel isn't just a journey anymore, it's a highly engineered commodity, manufactured and distributed on a massive global assembly line.
To truly wrap our heads around this massive machine, we're going to systematically dismantle its blueprint piece by piece, across 6 mechanical phases. First, the experience commodity. Second, the travel value chain. Third, makers versus sellers. Fourth, assembling the package. Fifth, engines of scale. And finally, the digital nervous system.
Okay, Section 1, the experience commodity. To get started, we really need to set the stage and look at the historical catalyst here. How exactly did we go from this era of elite, rugged exploration to the absolute mass commoditization of leisure? Well, we can actually trace this incredible evolution back in time. It starts way back in 1670 with the Elite Grand Tour, which was highly customized and incredibly exclusive. Then we see health tourism popping up in the 1700s, followed by some absolutely critical transport catalysts in the early 1800s, steamboats and rail links. But the real spark? That happens in 1841 with Thomas Cook inventing the agency model. By 1855, Cook transitions from just earning commissions to actually operating his very own inclusive package tours, and that right there is the exact moment the factory turns on.
This completely shifted the industry. What we see happening is the integration of totally distinct, separate elements of a trip. The hotels, the airplanes, the trains, the local guides, they're all pushed through this central process. The core mechanism of the travel business became taking these subsectors and consolidating them into a single experience commodity. It gets boxed up, slapped with a price tag, and put on a shelf, literally just like any household product you'd buy at the grocery store.
Section 2, the travel value chain. Now that we know what the product actually is, let's step straight onto the factory floor. We need to look at the core structure that moves this commodity all around the globe. This blueprint maps out the actual journey of your vacation way before you even pack your bags. It shows the flow of goods and services starting with the raw material suppliers, moving through assembly and distribution, all the way down to you, the final consumer, enjoying the finished product.
So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding these 4 distinct phases in the value chain. First up, you have the producers. These are your airlines, cruise ships, and hotels supplying the raw components. Next are the wholesalers, otherwise known as tour operators, who buy up these raw services in massive bulk and assemble them together. Then we have the retailers, the travel agencies who stock these finished packages on their metaphorical shelves. And finally, the consumers. That's us, buying the finished box.
Section 3, makers versus sellers. Now, this brings us directly to a huge point of confusion for most travelers, and honestly, even a lot of people adjacent to the industry. There is a stark mechanical difference between the people who make the product and the people who sell it. Let's clear this up right now. Travel agencies are the retail distributors. Think of them kind of like a Best Buy storefront. They earn a commission or service fee, and crucially, they carry zero to low inventory risk because they don't buy the components until a customer actually walks in and asks for them. Tour operators, on the other hand, they're the product manufacturers. They're more like Apple. They're pre-buying bulk inventory, huge blocks of hotel rooms or airline seats, taking on an incredible amount of financial risk and earning their revenue through a markup on the final assembled package.
Section 4, assembling the package.
So how exactly do these tour operator manufacturers actually build those complex products sitting on the retail shelf? Well, before assembly even begins, the operator has to decide what it is they're building. Basically, your vacation generally falls somewhere on a spectrum. On one end, you have the FIT, or Foreign Independent Traveler. This is a highly customized, bespoke itinerary built flexibly around one person or a small group. On the exact opposite end, you have the GIT, the Group Inclusive Tour. This is your standardized, highly structured, pre-planned, high-volume travel with fixed departure dates.
But regardless of where your trip falls on that spectrum, assembling the inclusive package requires going through a rigorous 5-step mechanical loop. It kicks off with Step 1, conceptualization based on market research. Then it moves into Step 2, which is meticulously planning out the itinerary and route. Step 3 involves heavy ground handling and negotiating with vendors to lock in all those raw services. Step 4 is where the margins are applied for costing and pricing. And finally, Step 5 is the actual marketing and operation, literally pushing the product out through those retail distribution networks we talked about a minute ago.
Actually, what's truly fascinating about Step 4 is the pricing mechanic itself. You might assume a package is priced simply by adding up the baseline cost of a hotel and a flight, right? Well, not quite. The industry has totally transitioned to a consumer-driven market. Modern packages are explicitly cost-engineered around the target customer's socioeconomic background and purchasing power. Basically, they figure out what you are willing to pay first, and then they engineer the entire package backwards to hit that exact bullseye.
Section 5. Engines of Scale.
Of course, to make this incredibly complex, low-margin factory actually profitable, the industry relies on massive engines to scale their operations. This scale is achieved through two main forces. First, you've got sheer physical volume driven by mass transportation. Think low-cost aviation and massive cruise ships, capable of moving hundreds of millions of people super efficiently. And second, you have vertical integration. This is when a company expands across different levels of the value chain. So, for example, a tour operator might just decide to purchase their own airline or buy up an entire chain of retail travel agencies. By controlling the distribution vertically like that, they slash their unit costs and completely lock in their profits.
Section 6. The digital nervous system. For decades, that physical blueprint ran pretty smoothly, but then came a technological shockwave that completely rewired the entire mechanism from the inside out. Let's jump to 1997. We used to have this old straight-line linear model, but post-1997, the internet revolutionized everything. Airlines systematically eliminated the commissions they used to pay travel agents, because suddenly, suppliers could plug directly into the consumer via the web, effectively bypassing the traditional middlemen altogether.
This phenomenon is called disintermediation, which literally just means removing the intermediate layers from the distribution network. At the time, everyone thought this was the absolute end of the travel agent. No way they survive, right? However, it's really worth noting that while simple point-to-point flights went online, travel agents still managed to heavily dominate highly complex, multi-layered products. If you're booking a massive, multi-city cruise vacation or a deeply complex package tour, the traditional agent still handles the vast majority of that volume.
To survive and thrive in this digital era, the new ecosystem is powered by a central core known as the GDS, or Global Distribution Systems. We're talking about systems like Amadeus and Sabre here, acting as the digital nervous system of the entire industry. This central core directly connects airlines, hotels, agents, and consumers, providing unprecedented real-time public access to pricing, inventory, and schedules, literally all at the speed of light.
Ultimately, this brings us full circle, as this perfectly summarizes. The transformation of travel from an elite 17th century pursuit into a mass-market experience economy is a triumph of supply chain engineering. The modern travel professional is not merely a booking agent sitting at a desk. They are logistical architects navigating an incredibly complex, globally integrated supply chain.
So as you head out on your next getaway, take a moment to look at the invisible gears turning all around you. Consider your place in the travel blueprint. Are you really embarking on a wild, untamed adventure? Or are you simply the final, perfectly engineered step on a global assembly line? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the mechanics of the world around you.